Welcome to the first ever episode of
On the Road.
Today I'm headed to the NFL owners meeting, the second one of the year, and I'm going to take you with me. So come along. I start my day every day on the 29th floor, grab some coffee. It's a great view. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes up there, head back down to the 6th floor, where you can see a video of me working a bit here. Have my usual 10 a.m. call, discuss the weekend, week plans, newsletter. Subscribe to that, by the way. I'll put a link somewhere. And then it's, getting things started. Source calls, reading over the weekend, and seeing if there's anything that I missed, and getting prepared for this trip. So at that point, I did not pack yesterday. So rode the bike home over, I don't even remember the name of the bridge for whatever reason. But rode the bike home, did a little bit more work from home, a couple hours, and then it was time to catch the plane. So called Uber to LaGuardia. So traffic today was definitely worse than normally when I fly. And so that's the basis of things. Now I'm chilling in the Sky Lounge. Today's meal on the Delta plane is the Shake Shack burger. I've had it once before. Smacking. You would think that a Shake Shack burger might not be as good on the Delta plane. Cap. I'm gonna take you through it right now.
Bruh, Caesar salad with the Shake Shack burger is so crazy. Now this time I didn't record, them placing it down or me eating. I didn't want to be that filthy. But last time I did, and I even got a video of myself taking a bite that I sent back home to my girl. Take a look. As you can see, I was getting greasy, but enough about the food, man. Back to this flight, and then eventually the news.
I'm finally at my destination at the Vikings. I want to say this is the Vikings team hotel. It's my second time here. Last time I was here was when the NFL voted to approve private equity. That was August of last year. So this meeting should definitely be hopefully a bit more calm.
Update, it wasn't.
As I said before, Tush Push at stake. Several deals probably getting approved. I think there's a couple other measures with onside kick and stuff like that. But overall, Minnesota seems like a cool town. Let me take you to the room and show you a bit around. Alrighty, we are here. We have a very nice bathroom, good lotion, good soap, great shower. Zoom out on that. Coming back. Suitcase, one bed, two bed, desk, TV, book bag, chair, lamp. I'll do a separate video. I'll show you all the view. Got the Vikings training facility over there. What's this? Yep, stadium right there. And some other stuff. And I think that's one of the 10,000 lakes. Might be a pond, but we don't say it's a lake. Here in Minneapolis, NFL owners meetings kick off today around 1 p.m. Several things are on the table, as I've said. Tush Push, flag football, some deals. I got in late last night. I talked to a couple people who will be in the room around the Tush Push vote, and they said it's going to be the most highly contested vote in years for the NFL. There's a lot of people in favor for it and a lot of people against for it. And as a reminder, you need 24 votes for this to pass. I'm more so of the mindset that if you don't want the Eagles to run it, don't let them get to 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. Obviously, that's easier. It's easier for me to say that on the sidelines, but it'll be an interesting day. Highly contested. Roger Goodell will undoubtedly speak about this tomorrow when the meetings conclude. So come with me downstairs.
At every NFL meeting I've been to, the league normally has a good array of food, refreshments, and there's the press conference room. But league meetings are a lot of waiting around, texting and calling sources and talking to editors back home, and then one of the members of the NFL's PR team will find journalists, tell us there's an imminent press conference, and we gather and do what journalists do best, ask questions.
We've all been informed, but we're excited to announce today that the NFL owners unanimously passed a resolution giving every NFL player an opportunity to play in the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. I think news represents a great opportunity for the sport, for the NFL. It's truly the next step in making NFL football and football a global sport for men and women of all ages and all opportunities across the globe. We think that's the right thing to do, and this is a big step in accomplishing that. And I think from an individual perspective, I think the Olympics is another step in giving our players an opportunity to brand themselves on a global basis, to give them that opportunity to be exposed to a global audience and show what they can do on any field.
To be honest, I'm just a loss of words. It's just seeing the amount of kids that are really involved in the sport, seeing the women and men being involved, and seeing it now being on a global stage is something that's so special. Even though it's 3 years down the line, and they're still planning and who's going to be on the team and all, but just to think about the chances of playing in the Olympics and getting a gold medal is a dream. Just reverting back to being a kid and watching the track and field meets, watching basketball win the gold medal. So that's something that as a kid I always wanted to be a part of, but football wasn't globally. So now that we're expanding the game and we're going more globally, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
After a long day of press conferences and conversations and calls and such, that was a wrap. Today's biggest headlines, of course, it is Tuesday. It's Wednesday. It's Tuesday. Today's biggest headlines were flag football getting approved. NFL players will be able to play in the Olympics. This has been a long time coming. NFL players expressed interest some time ago. But it'll be interesting to see what the squad looks like. Of course, there's been professional flag football players who essentially took shots at Patrick Mahomes.
At the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. I know he's right now the best in the league. I know he's more accurate. I know he has all these intangibles. But when it comes to flag football, I feel like I know more than him.
Like, I've watched a bunch of pro/Olympic flag football, and the sport is dramatically different. The field is 25 yards wide, 70 yards long, with two 10-yard end zones. And so just a different feel. And I think that obviously NFL athletes are freak athletes. The league and Team USA will have the ability to put together a dream team unlike probably any other country. But I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that Team USA is going to just come in and dominate this, sort of like how the dream team of basketball did in the 90s. I think it's going to be a little different. What's interesting to me now is, like, outside of that, is how the NFL decides to build these teams. And, the pro flag football players who have done this for a long time, do they get a fair shot? If so, how many of them make it? Because, of course, this is a big deal for not only the league, but its players. And in a perfect world, like, you do want a good portion of your players to be NFL players in this flag football tournament, because it increases the branding of not only them, but the league. The NFL has hopes of starting a men's and women's flag football league. And to that extent, the LA 28 Olympics serve as a springboard for the popularity of the sport and getting both men and women involved. Personally, I'm excited for the women more than the men, just because I think that women's flag football has a much higher ceiling as a sport than men's flag football. I think that the men who play flag football are just going to deal with naysayers who are going to say that, if you're so tough, you should have just played tackle football. I think that's going to be the biggest critic for the men. Whereas the women, we haven't seen any sort of football ever really established for them. My question for you all would be, who is your perfect flag football team? I'll tell you mine off the top of my head. My quarterback would be Lamar Jackson. And mind you, this is 2028, so all these players will be a couple years older. But quarterback Lamar Jackson, receivers Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Let's let's go Jeremiah Smith because I want a jump ball guy he's going to be a monster. And then as a speed receiver, Xavier Worthy. I'd go Xavier Worthy. On the defensive side, got to have Travis Hunter, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, Surtain. That's 4. And if I have to go a safety, Xavier McKinney. That's my squad. So the running back, Lamar Jackson, Xavier Worthy as my speed specialist, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jeremiah Smith, Xavier McKinney, Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Surtain, and Travis Hunter. That's my 10. Who's your 10? I'm interested to know. From the women's side, I think, remains to be seen, but I think we're in for some exciting times ahead. Away from flag football, the NFL approved several, smaller deals. I guess smaller in my world, but the Chargers sold an 8% stake to Arctos Partners. The 49ers welcomed some new limited partners, and I'm missing one. Charles Woodson bought a 0.1% stake of the Browns. That was essentially day one of NFL League meeting number 2 of the year. Tomorrow is going to be the highly controversial day where we have the Tush Push, where we have the voting on playoff seeding. I think there's one more thing at stake, but that's it. We'll hear more from Roger Goodell, and today was fun. So to start day 2, I'm going to walk and talk as I get ready because I think that's the easiest thing to do. So let's start with the Tush Push. Again, I think it'll be one of the most highly contested votes in years. I'm sitting here just walking around, not getting what I need. But I think it'll be one of the most highly contested votes in years. I had, some sources who expect it to be the exact same way. If I had to guess, I think it gets banned.
Now, none of these thoughts matter anymore, so let's discuss where was I right. It was highly contested. Now, where was I wrong? League owners voted against banning the Tush Push by vote 22-10. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie gave a long speech to owners and had Jason Kelsey fly in to present to them, and ultimately that was enough for the play to stay. I do think at some point owners will revisit it. Normally when Roger Goodell wants something done or gone, it happens. Now the league tabled its playoff seeding vote. It wouldn't have passed, but it will definitely come up at a later date. Now transparently, folks, I did not record enough B-roll on Wednesday. It was a busy day, but next time I'll be better. Anyways, here's NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
No, I usually take a neutral position on wanting to make sure that the process goes well, but also that there's a full discussion. On the reseeding, that was something that got a lot of discussion in March. There are different forms of reseeding, as you can imagine. What I wanted to look at and what we eventually got the discussion on, where is the ownership's position on what they want us and committees to evaluate? Is it no reseeding at all? Some forms of reseeding after the first week, after the second week? What is it that would be of interest to them? And I think we got some direction on that and some timing issues on that. So that was helpful. Same with the downfield blocking and the Tush Push. At the end of the day, that's all one for the committee to look at. We'll see how it plays out this season with some of the changes that Rich mentioned and the focus on the committee. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss those as we always do every year. What's the right way to go forward? So I think the discussion was helpful to us and what we should want to focus on this season.
Albert, hey Roger, we haven't had the chance to ask you yet about the cancellation of the accelerator. And I also wanted to ask if
it's not a cancellation. It's
Albert. So
we established that we're doing this in 26.
Postponement of it. And also, are you concerned about the optics of that, given the DEI discussion in America and the current administration's role?
I'd be concerned about being reported correctly in the context of we had the accelerator program earlier this year. We're committing to do it again next year. So there's no miscommunication on what our intention is. We are very focused on continuing our efforts in this area. We believe it's been helpful in identifying talent, helping great talent develop. That's what our focus has been. That's what our focus will continue to be. We obviously look at each one of those programs and modify them from time to time. We think it's right to make a couple of changes, but also bring it back next year when we think it's an appropriate time to do so. So I think we feel very good about the accelerator program. We're very positive about it, and I think you'll see it in May of 26. I know you'll see it in May of 26.
Well, that was unexpected and a shocking turn of events. The Tush Push stayed alive. Like I said, it was a highly contested vote, 22-10. I think Adam Schefter was the first to report that, but definitely not what I expected. I expected NFL owners to side with some of the people that were lobbying with them, health and safety officials and others, but ultimately the Eagles brought in Jason Kelsey, and he presented, Jeffrey Lurie presented, and they got exactly what they needed. That's big shocker. I expected that they were going to ban that. In other news, flag football continues on. I thought it was interesting that Roger Goodell said that he's not looking for capital from a potential partner that the league would partner with to create a flag football league. That's really interesting because now that the money doesn't matter, you're looking for essentially a creative partner, a strategic partner who's going to help grow the business of the game, grow the sport, period, grow it at the grassroots level, all of those things. And I think it, in some ways, eliminates some of the people who were looking to partner. I'm sure that there were some people who just wanted to throw money at this, and not going to be enough. You have to have a vision. So it'll be interesting to see how the league values that and how they evaluate each of these proposals. In other news, outside of that, Goodell took a very strong stance on the notion that political pressure upended the spring accelerator program that's designed to give front office executives and head coaches time with NFL owners to get to know them better. Now, these are diverse candidates, of course, and give them a better shot at being hired at positions that they desire. And he said that the political pressure did not come from Washington and President Donald Trump. It just came from them reevaluating their process. And he took several questions on that, but he stood firm in saying that that the accelerator program will be back next year. And he stood firm on this throughout all of these meetings. Roger has never stepped down and said, like, we are eliminating our diversity and inclusion policies. In fact, I'm just going to hold this. In fact, he has said, the NFL is always going to be looking to improve. And I think from that standpoint, it's a good sign for the league. I think when you have as large of a black population of players with no black offensive coordinators, and I think they've done better at the head coaching position, and team president position, and then in general managers. And there's still a lot of work to do. But to hear Roger come out and say, look, like we're revamping things and making sure that the process is actually useful is interesting, because I've spoken to a number of coaches over the years who have said that they sort of doubt the process, that they get this FaceTime with owners and then you don't get hired. And I believe it's like less than 5 people in that front office accelerator program who have been hired at head coach or general manager and some of the positions that they're desiring. And so from that standpoint, absolutely, the process does need to be revamped, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like in May next year. So that's about it. Minnesota's hotel was great. Food was great. People were great. And now I'm headed back on the road. So I'll show a little bit about my journey back to New York. But appreciate you all for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe.
On the road.